Rube, how was your mini bye week?
It was nice. Just planted myself in front of the TV all day Sunday. It was great. Went to a little Dr. Dog show last night at Ardmore Music Hall. Good couple days.
Very good. Yeah, we got to watch some football, some stress-free football for Eagles fans. And the good news is the rest of the league might stink too. So Eagles aren't that far behind.
No, and it's true. It's like every team has issues. I think the only NFC teams with one loss are the Packers, who are 3-1-1, and Tampa, who the Eagles beat. So it seems like the sky is falling, and maybe it is because the losses have been their last two games. But every team's got issues. You see the Chiefs, they were 2-3, and they look like they've started to find themselves. So we've seen this team have slow starts before and kind of find their way, and that's the challenge now.
It certainly is. This is the Eagle Eye Podcast, by the way, brought to you by Nissan, Reuben Frank, and Dave Zangaro. It was a good bye week. We enjoyed it. Back at it now. Eagles Vikings coming up on Sunday, week 7. Rube, the mini bye is an opportunity, though, for coaches to take a step back. We have a lot to get to today. Questions later. We talked to all the coordinators. We want to run through some fun lists we came up with during the weekend. But the Eagles come back from this bye. They had a little bit of a self-scout process. From your experience, how much can this help? Like having a chance to take a step back, analyze what you've done well, what you've done wrong, and then formulate a game plan going forward.
Yeah, I think it can help, and we've seen it help in the past, and that's why I have maybe a little optimism that a few extra days. Obviously, it wasn't a full bye like after the Tampa loss last year, and they were 2-2 and had the bye week, and then Cleveland, and then really got hot after that. Kind of found themselves, but we've seen Nick take advantage of this in the past, and overall, am I optimistic that they're all of a sudden going to be an incredible offense? No, but I think they'll be better. And I think these 3 days will help. They put in the time, and look, Nick's a good coach and he's a good offensive mind. He has his flaws, but I don't see how it's possible to have 3 extra days and not figure some things out.
Yeah, I think it's encouraging that it seems like at least they think they found some answers, and they're not going to divulge them. We'll find out on Sunday and in the Sundays going forward. And I think it's also important to remember that after that early bye week last year, it wasn't like everything just clicked. I think it's a little bit
They barely beat the
revisionist.
Browns.
Yeah, there were some rough games in there where, it looked like nothing really changed. So it's a little bit revisionist now to go back and say that bye week just changed everything. I think it was the start to a lot of the changes we saw with that team, but it took a little while too.
Yeah, and I think the one thing that, and we'll talk about the coordinators, but the one thing that you hear repeatedly from Patullo and from Nick is being behind the stick, being behind the chains early downs. And I've been taking a look at their first downs, and they're just bad on first down. Penalties, 0-yard runs. And when you're in second and third and long, it's just not a good place to be. And Patullo talked about how that kind of snowballs when you have he used the word when you're in a rut.
It's a good word for it.
Rut is a good word for it. And he's so and what I asked him was, and we'll get to the whole coordinator thing, but there's times this offense looks so good. And
very similar to the question I asked Lane Johnson after the game, because I think that's the frustrating element to all this. They don't just stink.
Right. They have really good players, and at times, like for a half, for a quarter, for a couple, like the 2 series at the end of the first half on Thursday night were 2 long touchdown drives where everything was rolling, and they just lost it after that. How does that happen? And penalties on first down. If you're 1st and 20, you're most likely not going to get a first down. You're not going to score, even 1st and 15. And and then even 2nd and 11, you get -1 yard on first down on a running play. So there've been so many instances of that, and they just go 3 and out. Now you're allowed to hit a 12-yard play too, but those plays have been absent from the offense. So I think
anything in that mid range is not there right now.
It's just they have half as few pass plays between 10 and 25 yards as any other team. Half. I mean, it's crazy. They just don't use. I mean, they've hit a couple bombs, but yeah, that's really bad. So it's no secret that you have to be better on first down, and that's the thing. I think that's kind of where their self-scouting has led them. It seems like try to be more productive on early downs. That's an obvious thing, but No, that's what we're hearing. And it's more complicated than that. And there's, then why aren't you productive on first down?
Yeah, I think it's one thing to identify the problem. It's another to fix it, because like fixing it requires not just identifying it, but like, all right, well, what's leading to that? And sometimes those problems aren't as fixable. If it's like, if one of the answers to that is, well, the offensive line isn't as good, you're not going to snap your fingers and get them healthy. So but that's the first step, is figuring out where are the problem areas. And it looks like at least they're doing that.
And I think that's where the Lane Johnson comment comes into play. If you're predictable on first down, you're not going to pick up 7 yards. And so hopefully that, they listen to what Lane said and take it to heart, because you got a Hall of Famer, either one of the greatest Eagles ever. He's not just going to say that if there's not something to it. So,
there are a few guys when they talk, you listen, and he is certainly. It reminds me of when Jason Peters used to kind of voice some of his frustrations. Like, everyone pays attention when that guy speaks, and Lane's that guy right now.
Yeah, I don't know how many other guys there are like that on the team.
And like AJ, to a certain extent, AJ does it in just
tweets it
a different way. Yeah. But he hasn't like been specific in the past about what he thinks the issues are. He's said like, these are the issues. Like the passing offense needs to be better. He hasn't gotten into like, why. Lane actually like tried to give some real answers about what he thinks the issues are.
Well, it's probably smart of Lane of AJ to not do that, because then it could get into like a Jalen AJ thing, if that's what he's thinking. Which I'm sure that's part of it, because he's been as inconsistent as anybody on the team. But I do think, to answer your question, I do think they will show some improvement. How much, I just don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think they're just too talented for it to be like this all season. I don't know if I expect them to all of a sudden turn into some juggernaut offensively, but they have the talent to be better, certainly, than what they are.
Yeah.
Okay. That was a little bit of encouragement, excitement. Your list this week, not so much. You came up with the 10 most disappointing Eagles through the first 6 weeks. I want to go through this list because it was funny. You and I were kind of going over the list when you were writing it, and we had some disagreements. And in the back of my head, I went, wait a second, let's save this. This is good for the podcast. So I want to do that now. Let's just go through the list, and we'll kind of spend some time on some players. We'll breeze by some others.
Yeah, well, this is alphabetical. Started with Tank Bigsby just because he cost them picks, 2 picks. And look, a 5 is, it's a somewhat valuable pick for a 5th and a 6th rounder. Normally, I wouldn't put a returner on this list, but considering what he cost the Eagles, I think it's important to note that he's like, when he fields the ball, he usually gets some yards, but catching the ball's been an issue. And that's when your kick returner is muffing it. That's just, again, field position has been a big part of the problem too. And fair catching punts at the 7 and muffing kickoffs. Those are big reasons why. I just think and you asked Michael Clay. I almost said Bobby Clay again. You asked Michael Clay about Xavier Gipson, who I'd like to see. I'd like to get a look at him because Tank Bigsby's killing this team.
Yeah, we thought it was like kind of a strange trade when they made it, because like everything we're hearing from the Eagles is like he's going to be a return man, and we're going, why would they trade 2 picks for a return man? Well, he hasn't played a single snap on offense. He is a return man, and he hasn't been a good one. I think disappointing based on it. Just feels like those picks were burning the hole in Howie's pocket, and he made a trade.
Averaging 20.7 yards per return, which is nobody else in the league is averaging like under 23.7. Like he's the worst by 3 yards per return. And obviously when you muff one, that's like it's probably a 0 or a 1, or you might get a couple yards, but it's really bad. And there's a guy who was averaging almost 30 yards per, but I think he had one long one that kind of skewed his average a little bit. He hasn't done a lot of it. And it looks that way.
It was a projection, and it's not paying off right now. All right, next one.
Jalen Carter. Don't think he's been terrible, but you start with the opening day incident. And then look, injuries aren't really his fault, but then when you have a guy that the defensive coordinator is saying he's out of shape,
And that shows up on the film.
It shows up on the film, and I don't know if that's why he got hurt. Probably shoulder, probably not. But you're talking about a guy who,
and now the heel injury, missed the game because of it.
Yeah, and we don't know. We don't even know how he got hurt or when he got hurt because they didn't practice last week. I guess he could get hurt at a walkthrough, but to me, he just hasn't been the player that I expected, and he's such a force. The player we saw last year was, I thought, a top 5 interior lineman in the league. We're just not seeing that.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Now, the good news about him is there are reasons to think he'll get back to that as long as these injuries don't really hamper him, because we have seen flashes of him just being super dominant. And he's still, when he's on the field, even if he isn't as good as he was last year, he's going to demand double teams. He's going to free up his teammates next to him. So I'm pretty confident that he will get better as the season goes on.
Yeah, I don't know how long he'll be out, but they need him back.
Mm-hmm.
Next, I have Jahan Dotson. Last year it was, well, he's new here. He got here late. He and Jalen don't really have any chemistry. And then late in the year, we saw some plays, 2 big plays early in the Super Bowl. First, I think it was their second drive, one down to the 1-yard line. You start thinking, and I thought he had a good training camp, but he had a 51-yarder on opening day, and since then he's got 4 catches for 52 yards. This is a guy who cost him a 3rd-round pick and a couple other picks. Expected more. I thought he'd be a legit 3rd receiver. 2 or 3 catches a game and taking some pressure off Devontae and AJ. It just hasn't happened. He's played a lot of snaps.
Yeah, they're having enough trouble getting AJ and Devontae quality targets. I have a hard time caring that Jahan Dotson isn't.
I don't care. I just,
you know what I mean,
observing. And then I throw the punt returning in.
Sure. That's a fair criticism.
And I throw that in, and I asked Michael Clay about, and he wasn't specific, but there's a point where you're fair catching a punt at the 5-yard line. It's going to go in the end zone. You got to have better judgment than that. But I expect more from Dotson, and obviously there's a lot at play with the offense. It's just not working, but I'd like to see more from him.
Yeah, and he's had some opportunities. You think about that one down the sideline. He can't keep his feet in.
Yeah.
And then there was that scramble drill where he was bad on that one scramble drill, the one deep down the field. Jalen throws it to the inside shoulder. He double moves and goes to the outside shoulder. So there have been a few chances and he hasn't made the most of them.
And when you don't get many chances, you gotta make the most of them. He hasn't. Kenyon Green is next. These guys not even on the team right now. Yeah. Got traded for Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Now they're teammates on the Ravens practice squad, which is kind of funny. Look, the guy was the 15th pick in 2022. I don't know how high expectation. It seemed like it was just a trade to kind of off-board CJ. But you got a guy who's, he talked about getting a new start here. Then he got, banged up in training camp, and he just never.
Couple different times,
missed a bunch of time.
Yeah, and maybe if he works out, you don't have Brett Toth on the field.
Yeah, then that's what I'm thinking. Their interior O-line depth is not ideal. When you have a guy who's a 15th pick 3 years ago, you would hope he could at least be a backup guard for you, and he can't.
Yeah,
they've cut him 3 times now.
Tough to put him on the list when he's not even on the team, but I get what you're saying.
Jalix is next.
Jalix Hunt.
Again, I don't think he's been awful. I think he's gotten some pressure at times, but the big plays haven't been there, and they haven't been there for anyone. Their leading sack producer on the edge just retired. So,
speaking of which, we haven't talked about Zadarius Smith. If you missed it, we did an emergency Eagle Eye where we talked about Zadarius Smith's retirement. So if you haven't listened to that or watched that, you can go and do that when you're done listening to this, or you can pause it and go listen to it now if you want.
So should we just pause till they're done?
Yeah, we'll wait. You guys go listen to that. We'll be here when you get back.
We'll be here. Yeah, and I just expect the way last year finished and his performance in the postseason, I just expected a little bit more as far as splash plays.
I get that. I don't think he's played poorly. He's gotten a lot of pressure. He hasn't finished at the quarterback. He had that one where, gosh, it should have been intentional grounding. I thought that was a stupid pickup on that. But maybe our expectations were too high for a player who we all knew was going to take some time. And he improved so much during the course of last season that I think we all got really excited about him. And I think that's natural, but the production hasn't been there.
Yeah. And next I have Jalen Hurts. I think his numbers look really good. but the eye test, he's just been so inconsistent.
Yeah. I really think the last few weeks, early in the season, I thought he was playing fairly well.
I think that's right. I think the last 3 weeks
Mhm.
specifically, starting with that 0 for 8 second half. I mean, there's just been, there's been stretches where he looks like Jalen. He's making good decisions, but I think his, he's missed some deep balls. I think his pocket awareness, he's run into traffic more than he has in a couple of years, taking some sacks that he really shouldn't take. I just don't think he's been as good. I mean, this is a Super Bowl MVP. He just has not been as good as you want him to be. Yeah, it really hasn't had two really good halves yet.
Mhm.
I'd like to see that.
Yeah, and it's like how much of it is the offense and how much of it is Jalen.
And that's true with all these guys.
Yeah, it's tough to figure out. But yeah, I agree with that. I think that's fair, especially the last few weeks. I don't think he's played particularly well.
Yeah. I got Cam next on here, who
That's Cam Jurgens.
Yeah, not the long snapper,
Mhm.
the other Cam.
His name's Cal.
Cal, yeah. They're next to each other on the keyboard. Well, they're close to each other. Anyway, is it Cal?
Yeah, it's Cal.
They had another Cam though, right? Who was their other Cam?
They had a punter once.
Yeah, that's right.
Cam Johnston.
Cam Johnson. Yeah. That's what I'm thinking of.
Okay.
Anyway, he hasn't been on the injury report.
Cameron Dicker, kicker.
Most accurate kicker in history. It's not even close. He's at 90. He's over 94%. It's insane. Former Eagle.
They have Cam Latu.
That's who I'm thinking.
Okay.
Yeah, Cam Latu. Anyway, Cam Jurgens, hasn't been on the injury report. I wonder how much the back surgery is affecting the back injury, if he's still recovering in a way.
I think it's very clear he is. He's
not the same player. And, maybe it's unfair if it's a health thing, but again, he hasn't been on the injury report. He's hasn't missed any time. He's another one who, I don't think he's been awful, but when you have a healthy Landon on your left and Mekhi Becton on your right, he just doesn't have that now, and it's going to reflect on him. He just hasn't been the same player.
I agree. And you and I talked about, should Landon Dickerson be on this list? He's not. He very well could be. And yes, it's been injury related, but that's kind of life with Landon Dickerson.
Yeah.
Like, there are going to be injuries, and he's played through injuries before, and this year it's really affected him.
Very much. And I just went with Cam over Landon because Landon's been more clearly injury related than Cam, which might be more recovery related. But if you're out there and you're not on the injury report, to me, it's fair to evaluate you based on how you were last year.
Yeah. But I also think it's fair to evaluate Landon because this is, not saying it's his fault he gets hurt, but this is life with Landon Dickerson. We've seen that now in his career, and he's been able to play through a lot and play at a really high level. For whatever reason, that the injuries he's had this year have affected him. You wonder, like, oh man, it's just like cumulative at a certain point. But yeah, neither of those guys have been the same, and it's clearly affecting the overall play of the offense.
No question. Kevin Patullo's next. I don't think all the problems on offense are his fault, but I just don't think he's been a very good play caller. It's that simple. I don't see innovation. I don't see creativity. I don't see the Eagles keeping defenses guessing. I think Lane alluded to this. I mean, they just seem to know what the play is, and it's not good.
Yeah, and like, he deserves some of the blame for the offensive structure and the game planning. I think he deserves less of that than he does for the actual play calling, because we know he's the guy actually calling the plays and sequencing them, and that hasn't been great. As far as the structure of the offense, I don't know. It's not his offense. It is in a way, but it's like a lot of those issues predate him being the OC.
Yeah, but not like this. It's a lot worse now.
Okay.
And
it's also a small sample size, but
it's not that small anymore.
Okay. I think these issues we've seen.
No, that's true. I also think, like, you can have good plays, and if the other team knows what those plays, like what you're doing, what you're about to do, those plays all of a sudden aren't good plays.
Unless you're really good. there's something too, like, hey, we're just going to take it to you. You know what's coming. You can't stop it. And they,
Well, they're
especially
not good
up,
enough to do that.
that's the thing. Up front, they are clearly not that good. So it takes a little more creativity, and Patullo hasn't been able to do that.
Yeah, and that's why he's on the list. Matt Pryor's next. A lot of offensive linemen on this list.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they brought him in to be that swing tackle. He really struggled at right tackle.
I don't think they did bring him in to be the swing tackle.
And they brought him in to be a guard?
Yeah. And then they ended up playing him at tackle because Kendall Lamb was bad.
But he started taking tackle reps right when he got here, didn't he?
A little bit of both.
Yeah. Well, he hasn't done well at either. He only played 5 snaps at guard. But I just expected more from a guy who was a pretty good starter last year for the Bears, I think it was. He's bounced around a little bit, but he was a full-time starter last year.
Yeah. I would probably have Landon Dickerson on this list before Matt Pryor.
Yeah, I mean, the injuries are why I didn't have Landon on, but you can certainly make that case.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last guy is Keeley. I was going to go Keeley / Adoree.
Yeah, that's Keeley Ringo. I just want to differentiate between the other Keeleys.
Okay, appreciate that. I really had high hopes for him. I think we both did.
Yeah, you could take your pick of those two guys and put him on that list.
Yeah, I think Keeley's been worse.
Yeah, I think so, but
he's just, I guess, considering the expectations, even after he struggled in training camp, I still thought there was hope for Keeley, and I don't think there's hope anymore.
Well, that's not good news because he might have to play on Sunday.
He might have to play.
We'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
All right, fun list.
Yeah.
I probably, like I said, I would probably have Dickerson on there. I'd maybe try to find a way to get Adoree Jackson on there instead of like a Kenyon Green. Overall, good list.
Okay.
I approve.
All right.
Okay.
That means a lot to me. I like your work.
Let's go to my list. I had 5 reasons for hope because I think there are some legitimate reasons for hope.
It's funny that my list is twice as long as your list. The disappointments are twice as long as
but I didn't go individual players.
Oh, okay.
You went, like kind of bigger ideas.
Yeah.
And we were initially going to go 5 each.
Yes.
And then you doubled me.
I just didn't. I had too many.
Okay. My first reason is that they've been here before, and maybe not here specifically, but they've dealt with slow starts. They were 2-2 last year, and it's not like, hey, we did it last year, we're automatically going to do it this year. But I think that does give them some confidence that they're able to figure this thing out. And some players are different, sure, but you still have Nick Sirianni, you still have Jalen Hurts, you still have Vic Fangio, like you still have the core members that got this thing turned around last year. They're still in the building. So I do think that in a way is encouraging.
Yeah, and I even go back, it's a different team, but the same head coach back to 21. They were 2-5.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a coach who is good at kind of navigating the team through this type of thing and different players, but I think that's still a strength of his. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't sense the panic in him because of the experience.
Yeah.
And maybe that's foolish, but I think that's the right mindset for him to have, at least.
Yeah.
All right, my next one is their talent on offense. And in one way, the talent on offense is what makes this so frustrating because they are way too talented to be as below average as they've been. But on the flip side of that, sometimes talent does win out. And you have guys who can just win. And the offensive line is an issue. They have to get healthy there. But, I mean, the level of talent is still pretty great.
Yeah. No, you're right. And, especially on that side of the ball. I mean, it's there. It's all there right in front of us. And this is even without Mekhi Becton and even with Cam not being 100%, if you get Landon in there at 80%, it's not a terrible offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
It should be.
I think Tyler Steen's been fine.
He's been okay. He's not on my list.
Yeah.
I think he's been as expected.
I think because he's the one change in the lineup, people think he's played really poorly.
He hasn't.
I don't think he has. I think Becton was clearly better as a run blocker because he's enormous.
He's 9 feet tall.
Yeah. I think Tyler's been fine.
Yeah, I agree.
We came into the season saying he just has to not be a glaring weakness. I don't think he's been a glaring weakness.
I would agree with that. So I think if you can get Landon back healthy, because I mean Brett Toth, that just didn't go well.
No.
I admire his determination and the fact that he's.
Yeah. We don't have to keep doing that with him. We get it. He's a great story,
but
it's not
enough.
Well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. My next point: the young defense will improve. I think it's reasonable to think that all these young players who are getting reps will get better, and maybe not across the board.
Does
but
that include 23-year-old Keely Ringo?
Well, maybe. I mean, honestly, I don't think he would improve enough to the point where he'd be a viable option. I think he would improve probably, but that's probably shouldn't get to that point. Yeah, talking about
Campbell.
Jahad Campbell, Andrew Makuba, the two rookies. I think Jalix Hunt is still a really young player who's theoretically going to improve. Even, like Nolan Smith when he comes back. Up front, Moro Ojima is in a brand new role that he's never been in before.
Yeah.
Jordan Davis is playing in basically a new body. I think there are a lot of those players that it's reasonable to think they'll get better.
Yeah, youngest defense by far in the NFL. And I agree. I've been surprised how up and down the defense has been. I still believe that by the end of the year, we'll be saying this is pretty good defense.
And, it's going to need to be based on what we've seen offensively. Yeah. So, a little worried about what we've seen in the last few weeks, because that is not the way we've seen this defense play under Vic Fangio. So they do have a lot of things to clean up.
No doubt about it.
Speaking of Vic, he's my fourth reason on this list for hope, because he's just a really good coach. And I have confidence in him to get the most out of his group. Are they a little talent deficient? I think so. I think we know the areas where they're talent deficient, but just like the blitz rate this year, it's not ideal, right? Like he doesn't want to have to blitz at the rate he's doing it, but his willingness to do it, to me, is encouraging because he's adapting to his personnel. And we've seen coaches that they're so hell-bent on doing things the way they want to do it at the expense of their team. Yeah. And Vic doesn't have that. I think Vic is going to call whatever he thinks is best in that situation. And the 2023 thing, that's not going to happen on defense because they have Vic Fangio.
Couldn't agree more.
And the last one is Howie. And I know that people have a sour taste in their mouth because of some of the midseason trades we've seen over the years, not just Eagles, but in the NFL in general. I get that, but you got to try. You got to try to improve. And after Zadarius Smith's retirement, like, edge rusher is at the top of the list. There are going to be some players available who might be able to help this team. And I don't care that Robert Quinn didn't work out, or name your player who hasn't worked out. You got to try. And the one thing about this GM is he's going to try.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. No GM hits on every move. Mm-hmm. Howie's hit rate is higher than maybe anybody other than Brett Veach. So, yeah. I mean, there's moves that he's made that haven't worked out, moves he hasn't made that didn't work out. But there's no GM I have more faith in that he's going to make the right move and do everything he can to get this thing back. And I would expect a couple moves between now and the trade deadline.
I would think so. And it doesn't mean he should trade the trade. He should trade because they need some help. And it's, we could have had a debate before the Zadarius Smith retirement. Like, what do they need help more, at corner or at edge rusher? I think the answer is very clear. It's edge rusher. And I think it might have been the answer even before the retirement. I think after, it's a no-brainer, because getting pressure on the quarterback will also help your secondary. They don't have to cover for 5 seconds. It matters.
Yeah. But they're both needs.
They are needs. And I wonder how it factors into the equation that you have 2 players on IR who theoretically could help those. Well, more than theoretical for Nolan Smith. Yeah. He's going to help. He's going to be a starter when he comes back. Jacorian Bennett, to me, is an interesting name. Someone we haven't talked about much, but he was ahead of Keely Ringo until he got hurt. When he's healthy, and if they don't have another option, I think it better be Jacorian Bennett across from Quinyon Mitchell.
I would agree. And he has one more game I think he has to miss.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know how he is.
Haven't seen him in a while.
Yeah, we saw him like that next day. I'm just thinking Curtis Marsh was the name that came to mind. You said Jacorian should be ahead of Keelan. I was going to say Curtis Marsh should be ahead of Keelan. But I was just trying to think of the name of like a journeyman type. Who's playing really well? Josh Jobe.
With I almost said Mariners. With the Seahawks. Yeah, he's been great.
Yeah.
Good for him. Undrafted kid.
Yeah.
Stuck here for a little while.
Yeah. Rasul still in the league? A lot of former Eagle quarterbacks out there. They could use any of them. What would it take to bring James Bradbury back?
I don't think we're going to get to that.
Not going to happen. Probably right. But yeah, I think, obviously no one's is more of a sure thing than Ja'Cory Bennett, but they do have help on the way at both spots.
Mm-hmm. All right. That was my list. Any reason for hope that I missed, do you think?
No, he covered them all.
Okay.
I feel very hopeful now.
I'm glad you do. We had a chance to speak with all three coordinators on Tuesday. Want to play the Vic ping pong game?
Yeah.
Give me something, Vic.
Well, he talked a lot about cornerback and outside corner. And I thought it was interesting. He said Mac McWilliams has been basically when he got here, we worked him at slot, but lately we've been working him outside.
Which is where he played more
in college. Yeah. Which also tells you that Vic Fangio is desperate to find outside cornerback help anywhere. Mm-hmm. Now, maybe that was part of the plan to give him slot and then give him outside, but no, I don't think so.
Yeah, I wonder how far they are away from trying that.
And I asked Vic how he's doing with things. He said he's doing fine, but what's he going to say? Good question for Mac McWilliams when we see him on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm. And Vic did basically tell us that Adoree is ahead of Keely Ringo, which we saw in the game. I mean, they benched Keely and then Quinyon Mitchell gets hurt. It was rough timing to bench a player and then need him immediately after that benching.
That's tough.
Yeah. So if Quinyon Mitchell is able to play on Sunday, it would probably be Adoree Jackson opposite him. But
Vic was funny because he was asked, what if Quinyon can't play? He's like, well, you know what we have.
Yeah, there aren't a lot of, yeah.
You know what we have, I think was his answer. He's just kind of like, what do you want me to do?
Yeah.
It's got to be Keely and Adoree. So.
And with a hamstring, it's like.
Yeah, it could be.
He might miss this game.
Yeah, he might miss this game. I would still consider Cooper outside and piecemeal this, just whether it's Mac or Parry Nickerson.
The answer can't be Parry Nickerson, can it? And I love Parry Nickerson, but that can't be the answer.
Who would you rather have in the field, Keely or Parry Nickerson?
This is going to be an unpopular thing to say, but Keely.
Yeah, I'm not sure I would.
Okay. This is where we get into we just haven't seen it. So we think, and remember, part of the equation is keeping Cooper in the middle of the field where he's so good.
I agree.
Like if they had a really good, honestly, if they had, this is not going to make people. I was going to say,
you're right.
If they had Avonte Maddox right now, you're probably playing him
absolutely
at the nickel. And I'm to make clear, I'm not saying they should have kept Avonte Maddox, but if they had that player, then yeah, I think you would put Cooper DeJean outside.
I would take Avonte Maddox in the New York second. He didn't play bad last year. He had a couple really bad plays.
I think he is banged up, actually.
Is he?
Which is not surprising.
Where is he? He's
in Detroit, isn't he?
Is he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been a little banged up. He didn't play on Sunday.
I always liked Avonte, physical guy.
A little too physical for his size.
8 seasons. Yeah, nice long career. Mm. Anyway.
But that was the cornerback talk with Vic.
Yeah. He doesn't have any answers. He's clearly not thrilled with. He was asked, "Do you feel like you have enough in the building?" That might have been on edge, but he said
that was the edge rusher.
But he did say, you never feel like you have enough at any position." Mm-hmm. That was specifically edge, yeah. But
I know that because that was my question.
Yeah.
I was like, wait a second, yeah. And we can talk about the edge. You asked him about Zadarius Smith's retirement. He seemed like he was legitimately surprised by that. He said how he came and told him on Monday. But I thought it was grace from Vic Fangio to give credit to Zadarius Smith for knowing when it was time to hang it up. It doesn't seem like there are any ill will there, and
No.
it is tough to retire. So, if you're not into it anymore, you shouldn't be playing.
Yeah, and it was weird because he had a lengthy, was it Instagram statement, but he never really got into why. And did not mention his last NFL team, which was interesting to me. We were walking down to the interview, to the auditorium from the media house, and kind of commenting, he had played his fewest snaps on Thursday, only 17. It could have been the short week. He's older guy, 33. Did that have something to do with it? I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't know. It's just weird timing. But you'd rather have a guy hang him up if his heart's not into it than keep playing for a paycheck. That's the other thing. I mean, with his experience, his weekly pay was not insignificant.
And Tim McManus from ESPN had some of the specifics of his contract. He was in line to make some significant money.
Signarius.
Yeah.
Was he?
Yeah, just for sack incentives.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Incentives that he was on pace to hit, at least the lower level of it.
Like 6-ish?
I think it was I don't have it in front of me. It was 5 sacks. It would have been another 250 or $300,000.
Okay.
Or something like that.
Well, he's made a lot of money. Vic said, he had a really good career, which is true.
Mm-hmm.
It was good to see Vic acknowledge that. He really did. Well, yeah, close to 70 sacks.
Yeah, he was a fun player to watch for a long time.
Yeah, I really enjoyed chatting with him. Talked to him a few times while he was here. Always enjoyed it. He invited me down to his house in Orlando to see his gym that he built in his house.
That's nice.
Because I'd asked him how he stayed in shape without being in a training camp. He's like, next time you're in Orlando.
He's not going to be happy when you show up at his door in Orlando.
Oh, I already did. Yeah, he asked what I did during the
mini buy. What's up?
Yeah, and then so we were talking.
That's why he retired. He was like, I gotta get away from this guy.
Could be it. But now he was walking away, and he turned around. And he goes, "By the way, call me Big Z." Goes,
oh yeah.
He went, "Yeah, it's Big Z." But yeah, crazy.
Yeah, certainly didn't expect that to happen in week 7. Anything else from Vic? He was asked about, we ask him this every week, but now there's a legitimate reason. He left open the door. Yeah. So the idea that Jahad Campbell can play more on the edge. And this was the most he's entertained that notion.
To us, yeah.
Publicly.
He's probably been entertaining it all along, but just not to us. But it makes sense.
Especially with Nakobe coming back, and he allowed that. Yes, that would obviously factor into this. There's nothing he could have said that would have shocked us in that realm. But the fact that he left it a little more open, yeah, they might need to.
Wonder, he didn't play any defensive snaps on Thursday night. Didn't have a training camp. Serious injury. He even said while Nakobe still kind of is getting back, he alluded to he's not maybe 100% physically, just not 100% as far as football shape. When might he be able to handle 8 to 12 snaps defensively? Maybe he can Sunday in Minneapolis.
Yeah, and I think that's important to know. It's not an all or nothing type deal we're talking about. It's not all of a sudden Nakobe is going to be playing 95% of the snaps and Jahad Campbell's an edge rusher only. I think it would be here and there. You could maybe all 3 of those guys walk on the field together for 10 snaps,
8 to 12, yeah.
Or maybe Jahad Campbell doesn't have to be on the field necessarily, but you get the idea. It would be a small package, and that would be a lot on Jahad Campbell's plate, no doubt about it. Switching back and forth in a game, but he's kind of done a little bit of that in the structure of the defense, where he comes out as an inside off-ball linebacker and they kind of walk him up to the line. He's done a little bit of it, so it's not completely foreign.
Really smart player. He's picked everything up really quickly. I don't see any reason he couldn't handle it.
Yeah, and if it comes down to do you want him taking 10 snaps on the edge, or Patrick Johnson, or Josh Uche, or Ojala? I think it makes sense to at least have a package of those plays.
Yeah, I think we might see that Sunday. Small doses.
Anything else from Vic?
No.
Michael Clay and Kevin Patullo, anything from those guys?
No.
Kevin Patullo didn't give a ton of answers. He did bring up what you alluded to earlier about early down struggles. They haven't been good on early downs, and it's been an issue. I think it'd be a little foolish to be like, well, once we fix that, like, because there are issues inside that issue.
Right. Like, why are they in 2nd and 11?
Mm-hmm.
And I asked him, like, the thing that's just really surprising to me is how good they can look at times. And that goes into what you were saying, just they have talent. They have good players. That's not the issue. Could they be a little better in the interior of the O-line? I guess, but they have good players. I mean, they have all pros or Pro Bowlers, like quarterback, really 1.5 receivers. Their tight end's a borderline Pro Bowler. The O-line's loaded.
The running back's pretty good.
The running back was MVP runner-up, I think, last year. So the talent's there. It's just, they just can't sustain it. That's what drives you crazy. And I'm sure it drives him crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And Nick.
Yeah. Michael Clay talked a little bit about, it was a lot of kick returner questions, which you would expect because they can't field a kick right now. Do you think Tank Bigsby is back there?
I think you'll see him right there.
You think so?
Yeah.
They can't run him back out there.
I don't think I wouldn't. I'd put Xavier Gibson out there, but he didn't seem to be leaning that way.
They benched him in the game.
Yeah, they did. He also said you're not going to bench a guy after one mistake, but
they did.
It was multiple. I mean, he's had a recurring issue, and he talked specifically about how he's catching the ball away from his body. And
he wasn't square. He basically said like he caught it on the side, and it allows it to go through, which is true.
And that was an issue with Covey. It was punts, but remember he talked about how Covey was catching the ball and that he would fumble because he was like, if you have your body here, the ball's going to be safer, more secure. But I would send Tank. I mean, you claimed him, you have him.
Gibson. I mean,
Gibson. Yeah.
I don't get why he's here if he's not active, and it's not like he has to learn a system. Like, I get that game day actives are limited, but I mean, come on, it's an issue. This guy has done it in his career. Now, he did have a big fumble early with the Jets, and that's why he was available in the first place.
Forced by
Kenny Gainwell.
Correct. It's always all connected.
To Kenny Gainwell.
Yeah. How about DeAndre Swift yesterday?
Yeah, Monday Night Football.
What was fun?
I hate that they stagger Monday night games and then you got to pick at a certain point.
I hate that.
Yeah, I just want one game. Give me one game or put them one after the other.
Yeah. Well, they did the first one was
staggered
7 and 8. The second one was 7 and 10.
Mm-hmm.
And then last night was 7 and 8. Yeah, I don't get that. I was at Ardmore Music Hall, so I missed both of them.
Okay.
I did catch the end of the Washington Bears game.
Yeah, I watched more of that one
on the radio.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was listening to Sirius XM. You can listen to either broadcast crew.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to listen. I kind of had a feeling Washington was going to blow the lead, so I wanted to hear their crew, like, how they handled it, and that's exactly what happened.
Weird to see the Bears make a big kick.
Yeah, well, DeAndre Swift had like a 15-yard run.
Mm-hmm.
They had one play from scrimmage left, and he had a 15-yard run. I got to look up his stats because I think he had like 170 something. But he made it, like they were on the 32, and he got down to the 18. So he had like a 14 or 15-yard run on their last snap, and then they lost 2 yards on a kneel down to place the ball. You can't lose 2 yards on that when you don't have a good kicker. But he had 14 for 108. Well, he only had 14 carries, 108 rushing yards, 7.7 average. And then he had 2 for 67 receiving, including a 55-yard touchdown, 175 scrimmage yards for the former Eagle. He's only here 1 year. He's a good player. That's all. That's all I got on DeAndre Swift.
Okay, I thought you had more.
No.
You're just staring at that stat. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we have questions to get to.
You deserve a car that thrills you, a car that puts goosebumps on your goosebumps. At Nissan, we've got everything from turbocharged SUVs to 100% electric vehicles that'll make your heart beat faster. Experience the thrill for yourself and shop your local Nissan store and NissanUSA.com today.
We are back on the Eagle Eye Podcast, brought to you by Nissan Reuben Frank and Dave Zangaro. Eagle-eyed NBCUni.com, QR code on the screen. Real quick, want to give a real shout out to Eagles fan Dean. We had that viral moment together after the Giants game. Went kind of crazy. That's been viewed a bunch of times.
A bunch of times. 10 billion.
Yeah. Was able to DM with him a little bit. His night did get better. He's an Eagle Eye fan listener. So shout out to him. That was a fun moment that I've heard about quite a bit since then.
So have I, which has been fun.
Yeah. All right. Let's get to the questions from Andrew. And we had some, inbox flooded.
Any questions about that exchange down in the tunnel?
No, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Surprising. Okay.
From Andrew. Hi, Dave and Rube. At this point, should we just hope for an epic meltdown to guarantee a Super Bowl for next season?
No.
One off, one on? No, you don't think that's the way it's going to go?
Well, so for the last few years, but the thing is, like, and I wanted to make this point, like, you look around the conference or around the whole league. I mean, like, Buffalo just lost the other night. That teams that you thought, Baltimore's 1-5. They've obviously missed Lamar
and everyone else,
but like the Steelers are 4-1. The Colts with Coach Shane are 5-1. That's it for one-loss teams in the AFC. And then Green Bay's 3-1-1. The Eagles have them in a few weeks after the bye. And Tampa, who the Eagles beat, are 5-1. Like, those are the one-loss teams who are better than the Eagles, have a better record. The 49ers, with all that, they've had injuries too, but they're 4-2. I mean, the Lions, who everyone thought was the best team, and they're 4-2. They just got beat by a Chiefs team that had a losing record going in. They were 2-3. Washington, who everyone thought was going to be, have this big. I mean, there's 3-3. So every team's got their issues, and the Eagles are in a position where they still lead the division. They're not too far from being the 1 seed. I don't know who Tampa plays the next few weeks, but they have the tiebreaker over them, obviously. So if they can just figure some things out, they have a really good roster. They have really good players. They have a coach who's won 70% of his games. I think he's still over 70%. They have a chance to really do some damage. It's just, obviously there's a lot to fix, but every team's got a lot to fix.
Victor. And I included this one because I wanted to note that week 7 is when we got our first one. Nick needs to be fired. It seems like his message to the team this week was, this is a bye week. All we got to do is show up and get the win. It obviously showed up in the horrible play. I would like Jalen to be asked what the difference in this offense is this year from last year. I would love his honest answer on that.
Yeah, Nick's not going to be fired. They're 4-2.
I just wanted to mark down the first one of the year.
They just won the Super Bowl 8 months ago. Look, he's a really good coach, and he'll be here, get the opportunity to turn this thing around. And, there's worse places to be than 4-2. The Giants game was an abomination. It really was. I mean, it's just that they lost, but how they lost, they didn't fight back in the second half. And that was alarming.
Yeah. And you can tell which of these emails were fired off either in the fourth quarter or shortly after the game ended.
Yeah.
And here's another one from Harrison. Dave and Rube, sad that's what this team is. I dare you to say otherwise. I can't even orate my feelings for this team. If they happen upon a playoff berth, it will be a first-round exit. This team is cooked. There's no more embracing adversity, failing in every stage of the game. Sad, pathetic. We are lucky to be where we are. That much is clear. Defense is statistically worse. Offense is statistically worse. We are cooked. I'm clocking out on the year. I'm typically forward-looking, but after watching this team, I just can't anymore. Having a new OC every year doesn't help, but how about hiring someone that is conscious? I don't know what to say anymore. Every stage of this team failed tonight, so I guess you could call it a complete team loss. Pathetic. This team gives you nothing to be proud of. With disdain for this team, Harrison.
Yeah, I always laugh at the people that say they're done with the team. Harrison, at 1:00 on Sunday,
You're
you will be
right.
watching.
I have friends that do that too.
Eagles Vikings. I'm never watching another game.
Yeah. I have a buddy who's like, he was out on the Phillies and then he was right back in on the Phillies, and now he's out forever until next season
Until
starts.
spring training, he'll be down in Clearwater.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, you'll be back. You're not going to go away. It's your team. You're going to support them, and we'll see. Like, I think that these next couple games are really, really interesting. See how much fight they have, and I can't sit here and guarantee they're going to turn it around. I don't know that, but got to give them a chance.
Yeah. From David, there are many, in parentheses, many things wrong with this team, but here's one of them. The first, so many offensive plays are scripted. However, or whoever is scripting them seems to be doing a decent job these past few weeks. Once that script ends, the wheels fall off. After that, Kevin Patullo seems totally lost. Plus, his plays are coming in late, and the process seems to be a mess. The immediate takeaway is that he is not currently capable of real-time NFL play calling.
So the second many, was it like ital or uppercase, or just in parentheses?
In parentheses.
I like that. He's not doing a good job.
Yeah.
I mean, he just isn't.
The one thing on this, and Patullo mentioned this a few weeks ago, he doesn't always use an opening script.
Yeah.
So it would be easy to watch that and say, oh, they're using an opening script, that's what's working. And then after that isn't. Not necessarily the case.
Yeah, he actually scripts the last 15 plays.
That's not true.
No, and look, they've had some good starts. They just had some lousy finishes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'll take the first half Thursday night. Scored 14 points. You take that.
Got some things cooking until the final drive, which was gross.
Yes, it was. But that's the thing. It's like, it's not always the first half or the first quarter or the first drive or it's just a different. It's like, when is it going to go bad, or is it going to start out bad and then get good? Just never know. I mean, like the Rams game, they figured it out. Tampa game, they just totally lost it, but they had it early. It's a weird deal.
Mm-hmm. From Doug, how much of this loss to the Giants is on Howie? There's no real productive depth at cornerback. In parentheses, who knew we'd miss Isaiah Rodgers, the defensive ends, or the offensive line? The in-season trades didn't get the team stronger. Either the players aren't playing like Jacorian Bennett or stink like Tank Bigsby. God forbid we lose Dallas Goedert. We don't have much at tight end to back up his production. We give Howie a lot of credit for what he gets right, but I think he gets too much of a pass. At least the podcast is enjoyable even when the team isn't. Thank you for that, Doug. Yeah, we haven't talked about Howie as much because we did give him a ton of credit during last season for putting that roster together. Yeah, there are some areas where it hasn't been good enough.
Yeah. Now, injury is certainly part of it. I think he kind of set himself up for this with his whole offseason plan of letting so many guys go. Mm-hmm. I understood that. I thought, and I think we both agreed, that Isaiah Rodgers didn't really fit in that category because he didn't get a lot of money from the Vikings. Could have kept him.
Yeah. I think the Eagles wanted to keep him, but they didn't. They weren't able to get it done.
Yeah. I tried. There's no question that the depth at those positions is not where it should be. I mean, obviously you lose Nolan Smith, and you got to play guys who just haven't been productive.
Yeah, and you think back, and eventually he tried to make moves at some of those positions, like signing Zadarius Smith, which was seeming to work for a little while, trading for Jacorian Bennett, but they happened so late in the process, your options are really limited then.
Yeah. And who knows, maybe Jacorian Bennett will come in and be CB2 when he's healthy. He might by default be CB2. But I think Howie definitely deserves look, it's tough because his body of work is so good.
Yeah.
But yeah, when things don't go well and there's certain positions that he just really hasn't properly addressed, then he's fair game.
Yeah, I think that's totally within your right as a fan to be like, wait a second. That guy who built that incredible roster last year, there's some missing pieces this year.
And I think the next few weeks are important for Howie.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what he comes up with.
From Scott. Hello, gentlemen. Thoroughly enjoy your podcast.
Thanks, Scott.
I have a 2-part question regarding Zach Bond, who is a wonderful player. Number 1, given Jahad Campbell's early success and the return of Kobe Dean, might it make sense to trade Bond for some proven O-line or D-line help. Do you want to address that one first?
It would not make sense.
Yeah, he's too good and financially impossible.
Yeah.
They just signed him to it. Like, I looked it up just to see it would $34 million in dead money if they were to trade him. So off the table.
And $34 million in dead brain cells if you traded first team all pro linebacker.
Yeah.
You wait like 50 years to get a good linebacker. Let's trade him.
Yeah. Number 2, knowing what we now know, if you could do it over again, would you still sign Bond to his contract or try to keep Milton, Sweat, Becton, Rodgers, or some combination of those players instead?
No, I think he was priority number 1.
He was priority number 1. And, yes, Nakobe Dean is technically back, but we still don't know if he's going to be the linebacker he was last year.
Yeah.
So, like, maybe if we knew that for a fact, we could start to entertain that conversation, but we don't know that. And even if we did, like, Zach Bond's really good.
And you look at like the money that Milton's a really good player, but I think, I wouldn't have paid him that much.
Yeah, $104 million.
I probably wouldn't have paid Sweat that much, although he's been really good.
He's been playing well.
Yeah.
Although
not in coverage.
Yeah, 50 yards down the field. I hated that play because then the sideline gave him crap for it. What's he supposed to do? From Lamar. Hey, Ruben, Dave. Lamar from Baltimore here. Sadly, no, I'm not Lamar Jackson.
Oh, okay.
Been a fan of the podcast since the Peterson era. Gotta be tough to be a Lamar in Buffalo.
In Buffalo or in
I say Buffalo and Baltimore. Yeah.
Both teams coached by former Eagles secondary coaches.
Okay. It's time to talk about the 2025 collapse and its parallels to 2023. I find it difficult to see a way for the Eagles to turn around this sinking ship. Kevin Patullo won't take accountability, like Brian Johnson. Players have poor discipline. Tackling and D-line pressure was a problem again. Injuries are piling up, and the depth just isn't there. Looking at Ringo and Jackson getting cooked all line and the D-line not rushing as a group and letting Dart burn them. This all sounds like 2023 all over again. You guys have stated in previous shows that you think this team is different and can overcome. After watching that awful and, dare I say, abysmal performance, are you still sure this team can turn things around?
Oh, I'm not sure of anything. That Giants game did remind me of down the stretch in 23.
It was as ugly as it gets.
And there was a lot of similarities in those two games. The Giants game down at the end of, I think, end of 23. The Arizona game, it reminded me of those games. So, no, I'm not sure of anything. But, the difference is it's a different team. It's different coaches. That could happen again.
Do you think just that they've won a Super Bowl changes the whole equation? Because in 2023, they were coming back after losing Super Bowl, and I think that's a lot tougher.
Maybe, yeah. Certainly there's more equity build up,
and like they've turned it around last year. Like even if it's not apples to apples, I think there's probably some confidence in the building that, hey, we can figure this out.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Okay.
Not a lot in this room. I mean, I don't know what to expect. I wouldn't be surprised if they win their next 4. I wouldn't be surprised if they lose their next 4.
Yeah, I think they're kind of at a crossroads right now.
Yeah.
I think they have the pieces in place to figure it out, though. Yeah. From Dan. Hey, fellas. I have to say this loss felt like 2015 under Chip.
Oh.
Kevin Patullo's play calling is not working. Do you think Nick would make a change? Some options could be himself or Jamal Singleton or Parks Frazier. Is there anyone else who comes to mind? Thanks for all you do and go Birds. First, 2015, does that
Chip had just lost that team?
Yeah, it doesn't feel like that to me.
I'm trying to remember because they beat the Patriots and Bills, and then
the craziest thing was they lost to the Lions, and it was like the worst loss of the Chip Kelly era. The next week they beat the Patriots.
Yeah, I think Bill gave Chip one that week.
Maybe.
And then they beat the Bills. Then they got crushed by the Cards. And then they got crushed by Washington. And then he got fired after that Washington game. And Coach Pat beat up on the Giants up there. Coach Pat Shermer. The last days of the Chip Kelly era, that was a dismal time.
It was rough.
Yeah.
Doesn't feel like that.
The last days of the Andy Reid era. They both ended in at the Meadowlands. Well, I guess Chip was gone by that game.
To the question though.
Yeah.
Play
What was the
caller.
question?
Play caller, and if Nick would make a change. He said this week he's not making a change, so
Yeah.
Kevin Patullo is still that guy. It's something to monitor. I mean, if it doesn't get better, you have to at least entertain the idea. Who would be the most likely?
You don't have a Shane Steichen on staff. He mentioned Jason Michael, who's done it. I don't know what kind of play caller Jason Michael will be. He's a sharp guy.
Scott Leffler has play calling experience. He's the quarterback's coach.
He's one name that comes to mind. Parks Frazier, passing game coordinator. I don't know. I think Scott Leffler probably be
he's the guy who stands out to me.
He's the guy that Jalen goes over to talk to on the bench. I think he'd be the most. And it was about now that Nick changed coordinators in 21.
Play caller.
Yeah. Play caller, not coordinators technically. Yeah. But yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if he does.
And it's fair to ask these questions because we saw what happened in 21. We saw what happened in 23. We've seen that Nick will make a significant change if he feels like it's warranted. So, you know, if it doesn't get better, you kind of have to keep asking about it.
And I think that's kind of a bye week thing. Like if I don't think he's going to change play callers like before the bye. I think that would be a thing where
I don't know if it has to be lined up with the bye week.
I think it helps just have that extra time to.
I don't know. You know the plays. Just call them. It's about sequencing them.
Yeah, but I mean, a lot changes when you make a change like that.
Sure.
Maybe not. Coach Matty came in. It was
lights out. Yeah. That really helped. We'll finish with Rachel here. What are we supposed to do as Philly sports fans after a week and a half like this one? We spend so much time and money following these games, and then the teams just collapse, even when it seems like they're finally going to be good for a sustained period. It was a rough week in Philly sports, man.
I mean, they have been good for a sustained period.
Yeah, and it's, you know, not to say fans are spoiled now, but this has been like an unheard of amount of success for the Eagles.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the last 10 years, they've been to 3 Super Bowls. They've won 2 of them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty good. So I think they built up that equity. It was a tough week.
Yeah. And in terms of what you do, you laugh. Sometimes you laugh when they're getting their butts kicked by the Giants because that's all you can do. You know, you make some jokes with your friends and life goes on. You get mad at it, but, you know, I think for the most part, the Eagles are in a good spot with an owner that cares, a GM that cares, a coach that's won a lot. You know, there are much worse situations in the league.
And again, you know, you look at the NFC and what team doesn't have issues? You know, you could say Tampa Bay, they're really good. The Eagles went down there and beat them, you know, just a few weeks ago. So I don't think it's as bad as it seems. It could get there, but I don't think it's there yet.
Okay. If you have a question for us,
questions today.
Yeah, they were good. We have a lot. You know, inbox was flooded, so if we didn't get to yours, we apologize. We'll try to get to some more on Thursday. Okay. Eagle at NBCUni.com. You can scan that QR code, send us one that way. If you enjoy the Eagle Eye podcast, please do us a favor, rate and subscribe wherever you get your pods. If you're watching on YouTube, click the like button and subscribe there as well. I actually have some quick final words.
What do you got
this time? We talked about the viral video earlier.
Yeah.
When we put that out, I expected it to be about the moment. Man, I was kind of like overwhelmed by how nice people were to me. I didn't expect that. I didn't think about people would be like, yeah, we love your work. Like, that's true. So that was really cool. And one last thing for me, I went to Rowan University, my alma mater, last night to speak to some of the sports comm students, did a Q&A. Really cool, great questions from all those kids. So if you're listening, thank you for all those. That was a lot of fun.
Great.
Any final words from you?
I was going to say, I appreciate our listeners and viewers so much, downloaders, whatever they are. What do you call it? Like podcast listeners,
I mean,
but like a lot of people watch it, so they're more than listeners. But anyway, I just appreciate you guys, and we have a lot of fun doing this, and appreciate the support.
All right, for Reuben Frank, I'm Dave Zangaro. This has been Eagle Eye, presented by Nissan. We'll be back with you on Thursday, breaking down Eagles at Vikings in week 7. We'll talk to you soon.